Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Monday, it is the live game review. Leicester City 1, Everton 2 at the King Power Stadium yesterday. Finally an away win for Frank Lampard's Everton, only our second away win this season, the first coming against Brighton all the way back in August, and what a time for our second away win to come as well. Such a crucial time of the season, such a crucial time of the year, and when we were absolutely desperate for points, and when the teams around us had dropped points this weekend, we absolutely capitalised on that. Out of the relegation zone by a couple of places, currently sitting 16th in the Premier League, albeit there is only a point separating both Leeds and Burnley from Everton. However, the results of the weekend certainly did go our way, and no result went our way more than yesterday's win against Leicester. What a performance, what a result, what a feeling, what an atmosphere, what a what a noise made by those travelling Evertonians, 3,368 Evertonians, or however many there was down at Leicester. I'm sure there was a lot more than that, because I was of knowledge of a number of Evertonians that were going up just to make a noise and to get behind the players and to get an atmosphere going without even a ticket for the game. So there'll have been many more than the 3,360 odd that were in the stadium. Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing, to be perfectly honest with you. It's by no means done and dusted, and I think it's important to emphasise that, and I think it was important that Frank Lampard mentioned that in his post-game press conference yesterday, that as good as of a feeling as that was yesterday, and as good of a feeling as it was last week against Chelsea, and how, how special this week has felt as Evertonians, it is important to remember that this isn't over. I was watching a couple of Burnley fans and Leeds fans on YouTube yesterday just talking about their games and their situations, and there seems to be an overwhelming feeling amongst certainly Leeds fans that Everton aren't in this relegation battle anymore. Everton are out of it. Everton are safe. Everton are okay. And maybe it's me being an Evertonian and knowing Everton Football Club for the 24 years that I've supported them. But I'm simply not of that mind frame. Can't even speak. I'm simply not of that mind frame yet, and I probably won't be at that until we are mathematically safe. And even then, I'll probably still be fearful that we'll get some form of points deduction for something stupid. Probably Richarlison, coming onto the pitch with his shorts on the right way or something like that. So I'm certainly not of this feeling that everything's okay now and we'll absolutely be safe and worry and panic over, and I don't think anybody should be at that stage, because that certainly isn't the case. And it's good to hear Frank Lampard and the players come out and say, listen, it was a great win and it's important that we enjoy this moment, but we also need to know that this isn't over by any stretch of the imagination. And from tomorrow, I think Frank Lampard said, meaning today, the focus is obviously on Wednesday night against Watford, which is another absolutely massive game, and a game that we should be targeting 3 points in. Watford haven't won a home game for 11-12 games, something like that. They've officially been relegated. There's a lot of sort of, murmurs around the managerial situation at Watford at the moment. There was a couple of pictures that would come out after their defeat to Crystal Palace that didn't really please the Watford fans. And ultimately, again, in the same ways that this game was against Crystal Palace, I sat here when we done the previews of this game on Friday and said that there is no situation in this world in which I'm willing to accept that that Leicester City will want this game more than Everton do. Very similarly on Wednesday, there's no situation I can sit here and accept that Watford will want this more than Everton will. They've already been relegated, they've got absolutely nothing to play for, and we've still got absolutely everything to play for. I think Leeds play Chelsea on Wednesday night. Burnley don't play until the weekend, I don't believe. So, come Wednesday evening, we could be, 4 points away from both of those teams if obviously Chelsea beat Leeds, which you would expect, because Chelsea are, at the moment, still haven't got top four secured. And Burnley obviously don't play it until the weekend when we play Brentford at home, I believe it is. So, again, another massive game on Wednesday night. But it just feels special at the moment, doesn't it? That's one thing I would say, and I think it's important that we enjoy and we soak up this moment and we really build off of this moment. There's a difference between sort of enjoying it and thinking, yeah, that, everything's all right now, and enjoying it and thinking, right, okay, we've got to up the stakes now, we've got to go again, we've got to go bigger, we've got to go louder, we've got to go better. because the reality of the situation is that I haven't felt disconnected to Everton Football Club for a long time, and that is down to a number of reasons. Maybe we needed something. I'm not going to say we needed a relegation battle, but maybe we needed a struggle to the point where the fans feel they have to take it into their own hands, because that's what's happened at the moment, hasn't it? The fans, Evertonians, have felt like, right, we need to grab this sort of bull by the horns, for lack of a better phrase, and really drag these players through it, because they're not going to be able to drag themselves through it. We saw the scenes outside the Goodison Park last week. We saw the scenes at Finch Farm on Saturday. We saw the scenes in the stadium yesterday. Fans staying for 25, 30 minutes after the game, singing Everton tunes. That entire, for the entirety of the 93 minutes of football, the atmosphere was the best away atmosphere I've ever witnessed, ever. Be it an Everton game or a non-Everton game, it's the best away atmosphere I've ever witnessed in all of the football I've watched over my years. And you might say that's bias or that's blue tinted glasses. It's not. It's plainly the truth. It's the best I've ever heard. An away section and away support. In all of my time, and bearing in mind I was watching on the telly, I wasn't even at the ground. I'm sure it would have been an awful lot louder at the ground in the stadium. And I think I said this in the instant match reaction or the player ratings, one of the videos yesterday. It very much just sort of feels like us as Evertonians at the moment have gone, nah, this isn't happening. We're not going down, not a chance. We're not going to allow this team to go down on a whim or go down on a sort of edge dropping and we can't win game, we can't score goals, or we can't defend. This isn't happening. We're going to do everything we can to rally behind these players and rally behind this manager. And I honestly do think, although Frank Lampard mightn't be the perfect tactician, although Frank Lampard mightn't be the perfect, most experienced manager, a lot of things are sort of steering me in the direction as to believe that Frank Lampard is the perfect manager to orchestrate this togetherness at the football club. And I think that's the best way to put it. And some people will get it confused before for, passion merchants and this, that and the other. And it's tactics though, is the big question is if Frank Lampard keeps Everton Football Club in the Premier League this season, how good is he of a manager to be able to go and build on that then? Where will we finish next season? Obviously, he'll have a full season, a transfer window, tactically. All of that sort of stuff is in the future, and all of that sort of stuff can be addressed in the future. Firstly, if Frank Lampard manages to keep Everton in the Premier League this season, he deserves a medal for doing that. But secondly, Frank Lampard has already done something since he's joined this football club that none of the previous managers of Everton Football Club, probably since, as I said yesterday, the first season under Roberto Martinez, have managed to do. Now, Carlo Ancelotti maybe didn't get a fair dig at it because obviously the pandemic and, the majority of Carlo Ancelotti's games managing Everton were played behind closed doors, and maybe had they not been, then there'd have been more of a togetherness. But Frank Lampard has brought a togetherness at this football club, or he's orchestrated and he's sort of worked in conjunction with that togetherness that the fans are bringing outside the stadium and outside the training ground, and he's not sort of ignoring it. He's not sort of just playing it off as if to say, yeah, it's great, that's brilliant, we need to do our job. He's getting involved in it. He's coming over to the fans, he's screaming, he's chanting, he's giving it, the fist, he's clapping, he's sitting at the front of the bus putting his arm out, fist bumping fans and stuff like that. And that might all seem like little trivial things that don't really matter, but they do matter. They absolutely do matter, because it shows that the manager is understanding of the fans, and it automatically builds that connection. I've sat here for years and years and years. I've done this channel for 4 years this year, and every single year, near enough month in, month out, I've sat here and spoke about being disconnected to Everton Football Club, not feeling disconnected to the managerial staff, not feeling connected to the managerial staff, not feeling connected to the players, not feeling connected to the board. And listen, even if we stay up this season, it doesn't automatically mean that the players are the best players in the world, or the board are brilliant. The board are shite, and they always will be, and they always have been. A lot of these players aren't good enough, and that is what it is. But we can address those at a different time. What Frank Lampard has almost come in, and done since he's been at Everton Football Club, has gone, well, forget the issues at the football club. Let's just all get working towards the same target. Let's all get working towards the same end objective. And let's all get we're fighting for the same thing, and he's conjoining all of those different things together. And whilst the fans are doing a massive part of it by turning up at the training ground, there's another arrangement to go to the training ground tomorrow. In fact, I'm going to read it out while I'm here in case anybody hasn't seen it on Twitter. If anybody wants to get down, bear with me 2 seconds, let me get it up. So it is that on Wednesday, obviously on Wednesday we play Watford, so if you get to the fan groups are asking people to get to the ground early, get in the away end, get it bouncing, get it booming again. But Hans Source tweeted earlier today that the team coach will leave Finch Farm at 3:15 tomorrow, and if anyone wants to get down, then get down and make some noise and try and make it a little bit like it was on Saturday. Obviously it'll be massively difficult tomorrow and much more difficult than it was on Saturday because of people with work commitments and stuff like that. But if even half of the amount of people can get down to Finch Farm tomorrow is what they did on Saturday, then, imagine what sort of atmosphere we can create again. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of Blues willing to take time off work or leave work a bit early or pull a sickie, dare I say, to try and get down tomorrow and create some form of an atmosphere because it's working. We haven't won an away game since August. We turned up last week against Chelsea. We made loads of noise. We greeted the coach. We were singing Everton songs. There was blue smoke. It was brilliant. We went and beat one of the best teams in Europe. We turned up on Saturday to greet the team at Finch Farm. I was there. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It was one of the best experiences of my life. We turn up. All of a sudden, the next day, we play a good, solid Leicester team. Bearing in mind, we hadn't picked up a point away from home. Never mind won an away game. We hadn't picked up a point away from home since December. And we went and beat them. And we were 2-1 up from, half an hour in. And we kept our calm, we kept our edge, we kept our cool. We saw the game and we defended well. We were professional, we were still creating chances. We looked a different side. And that's because this team at the moment have got confidence. And this team at the moment are taking confidence from what the fans are doing. I firmly believe that. I think they're taking confidence from their own performances as well. And from the praise of the manager. And this is why I'm saying it's all working together. But we beat Arsenal playing relatively well, and then we lost the week after. We've won game. We beat Newcastle in a game that we all thought at that time would be the catalyst for us to go on a good run of form, and yet we lost. The next couple of games we lost to Burnley after that one. Whereas now the fans have almost sort of took it into our hands and said, no, do you know what? We're not having this. We're going to turn up. We're going to make noise. We're going to back that. Regardless of what the issues are at the football club, we're going to get behind these group of players and this manager because this is the way we stay up. And the players are reacting to that and the manager is orchestrating all of that. I do firmly believe Frank Lampard at the moment is saying, sort of forget whichever way his style of football we do. Work hard, be compact, fight, create chances, take your chances when you're taking them. But overall, go and work for them. I said that in the instant match reaction yesterday. Frank Lampard was sat at the front of the bus at Finch Farm on Friday with his arm out the window, giving fist bumps to fans and all of that sort of stuff. I think as soon as that bus hit that motorway and, the crowd had cleared and everyone had calmed down a little bit, I do firmly believe he turned around to the entire squad and said, have you just seen that? Turn up tomorrow and don't let them down. Frank Lampard has said a couple of times, the fans are amazing. It's I've never experienced anything like this before, and he's basically, without saying the words, because he knows he'd probably get a fine for it, he's basically said, keep on doing this. We need you to keep on doing this. So guess what? We've got to keep on doing it. If you can get down to Finch Farm tomorrow to see the coach out again, get down to Finch Farm tomorrow, albeit I know it'll be very difficult for some people. If you're going down to Watford on Wednesday, I'm going down to Watford. We need, we don't even need the same amount of noise as Leicester. We need more noise. We need more singing. We need to stay for an hour after the game. If we win, even if we don't win, we need to get behind the players. We need to be in the stands, before the game when the players are training so we can sing and shout. We need to get down there and show how much this means to us because this isn't over. This isn't over yet. We've had 2 games where it's very much felt like the pinnacle of it. Yeah, we've won those 2 games, we're sound now, but we're not. Go and win the next 3, and then we'll be okay. And the next 3 are so winnable. Watford away, who, might come back to bite me on the arse, but they are shite. And then Brentford and Palace at home, 2 teams that have got nothing to play for, when the atmosphere will be, should be as good, if not better, than it was against Chelsea and against Leicester. It very firmly much is in our own hands. And I do feel like the players have taken a lot of confidence over the last couple of weeks, and that confidence in itself might be enough for them to put performances in that see us over the line, but I'm not willing to take that risk. I'm not willing to take that risk because it's such a tight battle and it could change within one result, one performance, one bad game. So we as fans have got to continue to do this. We've absolutely got to continue to do this. And the fans at the King Power yesterday were exceptional, absolutely exceptional. Watching the videos, seeing the pictures, and just hearing all the stories and stuff, it just warms your heart, doesn't it? It really, really does warm your heart. And I just feel like at the moment, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I know it's only, I know it's only 2 wins on the bounce. I know we're still very much in this situation. I don't want to get too overly excited, but does anybody else agree that this just feels special at the moment? This just feels like, things are going for us a little bit. And that could change within an instant, of course it could, but I think that's where other fans are getting the sort of feeling from. I think Leeds are looking at us and thinking, well, look at the way their fans are acting and look at the way their players are reacting to their fans. Who'd have thought we'd have taken 6 points out of Chelsea at home and Leicester away? Certainly not me. If you'd have asked me, even after the Merseyside derby, when I said, we've been playing relatively well. Man United, we won. We got a point against Leicester at home, and again, we could have won that game. I felt we'd beat Chelsea. I didn't think we'd get 6 out of 6. So it feels special at the moment, and as I said, this is being orchestrated by Frank Lampard because he understands the fans, he understands the football club, he gets it. Seen a boss tweet the other day which saying Rafa knew the city, Frank knows the club, and that's exactly how we feel. And whether or not he's a good enough manager to take us to the next step or European, that's all well in the future and not even relevant at this point. Frank Lampard is the right manager for orchestrating this togetherness at the football club, and this is a togetherness we haven't had for years and years and years. Even in Martinez's first season, it was brilliant and we were boss and it was great, and then the European season afterwards was great, but it was never like this, was it? It was never greeting the players outside the training ground, and it won't be like that every week, and it won't be like it was against Chelsea every week, because football isn't like that every week. Again, it's silly to expect that happens every week, next season or the season or whatever, but it's got to happen for the next 4 games, or at least the next 3 games, and then hopefully it'll all be sorted, before Arsenal. Hopefully there'll be nothing to worry about. It's got to happen then, because these are big games, these are finals. We've just won 2 cup finals, we've got another 3 coming up. The next one's on Wednesday, we've got to win that as well. And Watford will be difficult because often with teams that have been relegated officially, they have that sort of weight lifted off their shoulder, and they've not got that pressure, and they almost play with a bit of a freedom. But that doesn't matter. We've got to be compact. I know I said yesterday, go and put them to the sword, but that's not the right way to approach this game. The right way to approach this game is the same way we approached yesterday. Be compact, defend properly, no silly mistakes, be aware, be concentrated, and when we're creating chances at the other end, score the goals, because we will get chances on Wednesday. Of course we will. And we've got to be clinical. But yeah, Sunday yesterday was just amazing. Absolutely amazing, and as I said, the fans, the reaction, the players, the effort, the determination, the desire, barring a couple of mishaps, one leading obviously to the goal and another couple of defensive lapses of concentration. We managed the game really, really well, in my opinion. Yes, Jordan Pickford needed to be called into action to make a couple of big saves, but that's what he's ultimately there to do, and that's why he will win Everton Player of the Season this season, because he's cropped up in those big moments and made those big saves. His confidence will be flying at the moment, as will everybody's, and you know what? If this is an Everton team that is largely packed with confidence-based players, which is something that we've spoken about before, and something that I think a lot of Evertonians would agree on, that there's a lot of confidence-based players within this Everton team. If that's the case, then let's give them as much confidence as we can, because they obviously take confidence from seeing the fans outside the stadium, or the fans outside the training ground, or the fans in the ground singing and shouting. They obviously take confidence from that, and if they can put performances in when they're confident, then let's not get on their backs, let's not boo them, let's not go shrug your shoulders and this, that and the other. let's get behind them. Let's not stop singing. There's a boss video that's on Twitter today of of the final whistle yesterday, and it's Everton fans singing "Spirit of the Blues," and when it says come on, get down to Goodison Park, and there's usually a woo, which there was about 700,000 times, because as I said, the away end was unbelievable, best I've ever heard, and didn't stop singing "Spirit of the Blues" for a good 45 minutes after the game, which was amazing. But there was a moment, and there's a video of it on Twitter, we retweeted it on our Twitter, where instead of the come on, get down to Goodison Park, instead of the woo, it's the referee blows his final whistle, just as the fans are about to do the woo. And it's just, again, it's the reaction from the Evertonians. We put a video up yesterday on the channel of what it was like inside the ground, in the concourse, and on the stands, of course. And it was, it just very much felt special, and I really, really hope that Wednesday is the same, not only because I'm going down there, but because it's got to be. It's absolutely got to be like that. This is our football club, and as Frank quite rightly said, this isn't over, this isn't done. This isn't by any stretch of the imagination a finished sort of, right, we're all right now. We might be, and Leeds and Burnley obviously had significantly worse results than us at the weekend, and their fans will be feeling a lot more worried than ours. But 2 weeks ago, we were feeling a lot more worried than Burnley and Leeds. When we lost to Liverpool and Burnley were winning and Leeds were putting in performances. So next week it could change again. So we've got to make sure, all we've got to do is win our games. It's in our hands. It's completely in our hands. Our fate is in our own hands. We don't need to rely on anybody else winning or anybody else losing or this, that and the other. We just need to focus on winning our games, and we've got 3 very, very, very winnable games coming up. And as I said, the togetherness that we're seeing at the moment between the fans, the players, the manager, it's just something that we haven't witnessed at Everton Football Club for a long, long time. And, maybe that's because we haven't had desperate times at this football club for a long, long time, but I just hope that this togetherness stays now. Even if we do stay up this season and then next season, is a bit of a, let's say, a dud, and we finish mid-table, which, let's be honest, I think a lot of us would snatch your hand off for now, given the situation. Just keep that togetherness. It's difficult, but we've got to keep it. And, as I said, for me, Sunday, yesterday, I keep forgetting it's only Monday today. It's just been a wild 24 hours. I'm still absolutely buzzing, to be honest with you. I'm still absolutely over the moon with it. But yeah, it was amazing. Let's get into some of the live comments then before we do go into talking about the game in itself. Glenn has become a member again. Thank you very much, Glenn. Really, really do appreciate that, my mate. Star Wars Short says, hi, what's happening? Andy says, alright, Cam, need to follow up with another win on Wednesday now, and that hopefully should see us safe. Yeah, we do. I still don't think a win on Wednesday is it. I think we need to win the 2 home games, to be perfectly honest with you. And then I think, going into the last game of the season, I don't see Leeds and Burnley winning all of their games. But it's completely in our hands, as I've said. EFC Lukey said, evening Cam, mate, buzzing, get in, is right, mate. Sam says, anyone else reckon Cameron's shoulders looking a bit big there? I haven't even been to the gym today, lads, so they will be in about 3 hours, hopefully. 8 points and we're sound, says Wonderlust, let's hope so. Jason says, evening Cam up the toffees, is right, mate, evening. Cameroon says, Glenn, what's happening? Hernandez says, not only does it feel good to be a blue, it almost feels as though the disaster has shifted to Burnley Leeds. It does, as of now, as of Monday the 9th of May, it does. But that's not to say that, the disaster switches the other way on Wednesday. Listen, if we don't focus ourselves on Wednesday and these players go out and go, we're sound, we'll be all right, which I don't think they will, because that won't be the message from Lampard, and the fans will turn up again, and, I don't think that'll be the case. But if, let's say they did do that and we lost on Wednesday and Leeds managed to beat Chelsea, which isn't out the realms of possibility, because although Leeds might be poor, and they might have been poor yesterday, they're fighting for their lives, and they'll understand that. And Chelsea haven't particularly been great recently. They dropped points again at the weekend, after winning for 90 minutes of the game or whatever it was. They ended up drawing 2-2. So it could shift again, and it could shift again, and it could shift again. We've got to make sure that it doesn't shift. We've got to make sure that even if Leeds do win on the week on Wednesday, it doesn't matter because Everton have won. Or Burnley do win at the weekend, doesn't matter because Everton have won twice since Burnley have last played. That's what we need to make sure. Scott says, Cam, all I can say is I can't remember the last time there was such a connection between the manager and the fans. Absolutely, mate, absolutely. Sam says, come on, Cam, what an away end that was yesterday. Definitely worth the journey to finally see an away win. Try not to get too excited. Still need 2 more wins, IMO. Yeah, at least 2 for me. I think 3, but at least 2 for me. We could be 20 points clear of the title and still justifiably have our hearts in our mouths. Yeah, spot on. If you like the win on Sunday, hit the like button, says Glenn. Nice one, my mate. Watford have got a key defender on a double yellow for our game, have they? Kamara, he's banned, isn't he? No, he's banned for that game, so that's a positive. Because he's a good player. He is a good player. But you know, again, Watford will play. Although it sounds mad to say, so Watford will be better now they're not in a relegation battle. Typically, you do find that when teams have officially been relegated before the end of the season, their following games they play with sort of a freedom, almost as if it's like, oh, well, you know, we've got nothing to play for now, and you know, there's no pressure on it, so we'll just enjoy our football and play how we want to play. Bournemouth done it a couple of years ago, turned up at Goodison and beat us last game of the season, and they'd already been relegated. Fulham had done it a few years back as well when Marco Silva was the manager of Everton. Louis says, get in, Cam was open for the laugh, team up the toffees, is right, my mate, you know that. Michalenko, I love Evertonians. I love Michalenko as well. Louis says, Evertonians love Michalenko. Jason says, Frank is younger and has played more recently, maybe relates to the players, potentially. Paul says, top man, Cam, loving the passion of Frank, my favourite since Moisey. Yeah, it's amazing, and as I said, it's exactly what we needed in this relegation battle, exactly what we needed. And Pokey says, I really felt like Pickford did bail the team out on some occasions, and we did rather our luck at times, but that was a massive win. We need to go again against Watford. Yeah, we did, but in these, you know, in these relegation battles, in these difficult moments at both ends of the league, whether you're at the top of the league, whether you're at the bottom of the league, sometimes you've got to ride your luck. And Jordan Pickford making 3 world-class saves isn't riding our luck, by the way. I'd say there was a couple of moments that we maybe rolled our luck a little bit yesterday, but Jordan's saves, I'm not willing to accept, and I know you mightn't be referring to this, Pokey, but I've seen a couple of people saying, Everton got lucky that Jordan Pickford made another few, you know, a couple of good saves. It's not lucky, is it? He's our number 1 goalkeeper. We pay him an awful lot of money to pull those saves off. He knows that. We know that. It's not lucky that our number 1 goalkeeper, who is a part of the team, who has been a part of the team for a number of years, is making the saves that, okay, are world-class saves, don't get me wrong, and they're unbelievable saves, of course they are. But that's not luck. That's the benefit of having a world-class goalkeeper in your team during a relegation battle. It's like me sitting here saying, City are getting awfully lucky that they've got 8 players that score hat-tricks every week, or Liverpool are awfully lucky that they've got, you know, Salah and Mane playing well. I get that we rolled our luck at times, but Jordan Pickford doing what Jordan Pickford does isn't lucky. It's just the genuine positives and advantages of having a world-class goalkeeper in your team. And for me, none of the other teams in this relegation battle have got that. So, you know, maybe it's lucky that we've got that and we're in that position, but it's not lucky that he makes the save because he's absolutely unbelievable, Jordan. And Semi says, greeting fellow Blues, hello Cam, what's happening, Semi? And the golfer says, interesting to see when we stay up, I like it, how Frank is backed financially, if at all, the first manager since Moyes who gets the club and their fans onwards, Evertonians. Yeah, well, I think he will be backed by the board. I don't think the board would dare to not back him, especially given if we are to stay up, what he would have gone through and you know, the hard work he will have put in to see that happen. So, but, you know, you never know with this board. And John says, congratulations on Evertonian Jodie Comer on her BAFTA win. Yeah, massive congratulations to Jodie Comer. By the way, apparently Hans Tors put a tweet out before saying that on the coach on the way home from the game yesterday, when people found out that Jodie Comer had won the BAFTA, they started singing her name. So massive congratulations to Jodie Comer, unbelievable actress and massive Evertonian as well. I don't know if she's a massive Evertonian. She's an Evertonian, but massive congratulations to Jodie Comer, who obviously picked up a well-deserved BAFTA, which is great. I've got a blocked nose, and I'm trying to unblock it without having to blow my nose, but I'm unsuccessfully doing that at the moment. So if you're wondering why I'm talking like something out of a cartoon, that is why. Anyway, let's get into the game then. Let's get into the game, because that's what we're here to talk about. It's a game review. We're not here to just talk about Jodie Comer and cartoons. We're here to talk about the game of football. Frank Lampard obviously started with the same team as that beat Chelsea last week. No changes to the side. Yerry Mina starting again, as did Fabian Delph, Anthony Gordon, Damari Gray, Richarlison. No Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the starting 11 again. And to be honest, I had no real problems with it. I had no real problems whatsoever. I did think that he might have made a couple of changes here and there, but you know, again, I don't think any of us could have really sat here and complained yesterday afternoon that Frank Lampard was, going with the same players that played so well last week against Chelsea, worked so hard, battled so much, and ultimately, got a well-earned and deserved win against, one of the best teams in the country. I don't think any of us had any real problem with that. I certainly didn't have any real problem with it whatsoever. I felt it was going to be interesting to see how players like Fabian Delph and Yerry Mina dealt, considering obviously it was 2 games in the space of a week, which, again, those two especially haven't been used to doing in a few years, given their injuries and given their fitness levels and stuff. So that was always going to be an interesting dynamic as to how those two specifically got on and managed throughout the course of the game. Obviously, we know what happened with Yerry Mina. We'll talk about that in a moment. Fabian Delph, I thought done well, and we started the game relatively shaky, didn't we? As I said, Leicester were always, I feel, going to be the team yesterday that had the possession. They were always going to be the team that were more in control of the ball, because they're in a position and have the quality in their midfield to be able to do that. And I don't think that's Frank Lampard's tactic at the moment. I don't think his tactic is to have the ball. I don't think his tactic is to, play it round and be in control of a game, especially away from home. I think it's finally clicked for Frank Lampard that it's not about going toe-to-toe with teams away from home. It's about setting ourselves up to be able to be compact and control defensively and hit teams on the counter-attack when we get the opportunity to do that. But it wasn't a great start. They had an opportunity after only a couple of minutes. Poor ball by Iwobi, left it short for Delph. They ended up breaking. I think it got to Patson Daka, who come to the right-hand side of Jordan Pickford. Jordan Pickford come out. He didn't quite go round Jordan Pickford, but he managed to get his shot beneath him, and Yerry Mina made a goal line clearance effectively and denied what was a certain goal. It would have been 1-0 within a matter of minutes. And we would have been taken, we would have been had a massive mountain to climb to get back into that game if it wasn't for that Yerry Mina challenge. It was a fantastic challenge. He placed himself in the right position, and that is the benefit of having Yerry Mina. Now, I know he went off injured, and I know there's a lot of Evertonians that are a little bit, frustrated and upset with the fact that he's gone off injured again. And, Frank Lampard obviously said after the game yesterday that it's a calf injury, and we don't quite know how long he'll be out for. Listen, whether or not we see Yerry Mina again before the end of the season is another question, but he denied what was quite clearly would have been the opening goal from, I think it was Daka who come inside, and as I said, he made an absolutely unbelievable block, and all of a sudden it seemed like a bit of a wake up call for this Everton team. It was almost like, oh shit, we can't let that happen again. What's going on there? And it was worrying. It was worrying because I think Leicester all of a sudden had a little bit of a growing confidence. I think instantly they felt, right, okay, we've got we've got this Everton team on the ropes a little bit, this defence on the ropes a little bit. We were making silly sort of misjudgments defensively, albeit after that, Daka chance, obviously we scored, quite quickly after, but in between that chance and scoring, there was a couple of shaky moments defensively in which we dealt with, but you could tell those Leicester players were sort of gaining in confidence, and it was almost like, we looked like we were we were struggling a little bit, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we go up the other end. Alex Iwobi finds himself with the ball on the right-hand side, plays listen, I'm going to say a wonderful ball. Now, I know a lot of people will argue that and say it was a dreadful cross that was under hit and it just happened to hit Vitaly Mykolenko. But for the purpose of the ball, it might have meant to go in the box. And if it did mean to go in the box, then it wasn't a very good ball. But it was perfectly set up for Vitaly Mykolenko to do what he did. So, therefore, it was a wonderful ball. As I said, Alex Iwobi chipped it up towards Mykolenko on the edge of the box, and Mykolenko, you can see him lining this up. When I watched the goal, and I've watched it back since, it almost feels like the ball's in the air for about 25 minutes. It feels like he's lining this shot up for ages and ages and ages, and you can almost see that Schmeichel knows what he's gonna do, but he just simply can't. He can't do anything about it because it's that good of a strike. It's a genuinely outrageous goal. It's an outrageous goal. It's that technically good. It's that precise. It's that it's just that perfect. It goes in the perfect corner. And as I said, even though Kasper Schmeichel was probably looking at it thinking, I know what he's going to do here, he couldn't do anything about it. And that's when you know it's a genuinely top quality goal, when a goalkeeper probably knows what's going to happen, but still can't do anything about it. It comes up to Vitaly Mykolenko, as I said, and he just hits it perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. It comes down. It's a difficult technique, that, because typically when you're volleying a ball and when you see goals of a similar sort of ilk to that one, typically it's players running onto it, or there's a bit of momentum behind it, there's a bit of pace behind it. There's a bit of something behind the ball for players to come on and absolutely smash it and blast it into the back of the net. This one, it wasn't. It was a sort of dipped cross that was coming down to him, and he had to control, the pace of the ball, and he had to control his, ultimately his shot, and the accuracy behind it is just perfect. It's right into the corner. Kasper Schmeichel can't do anything about it, and all of a sudden, Everton have gone from being nearly 1-0 down at one end, thanks to a great clearance from Yerry Mina, to being 1-0 up through an absolute worldie of a strike by a player who I honestly can't think of anybody else within that squad that deserves that more than Vitaly Mykolenko. Not only for his situation in terms of what's going on in the world at the moment and what's going on in his personal life. It's obviously absolutely dreadful, and I can't even bear to think how he must feel or how it must have been the last couple of months for him. And obviously he's had to settle into a new country, he's had to settle into a new league, he's had to learn a new language. He's done a little video for Evertonians on Everton's Twitter after the game, and you can tell he's learning a little bit of English. But also, you've got all of that, but also he's been absolutely phenomenal in the last 4 or 5 games. He's not put a foot wrong. And bearing in mind, he's had to defend against the likes of Mohamed Salah, Diego Jota, Sadio Mane, Cristiano Ronaldo, Paul Pogba, Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Patson Daka. He's had to defend against some of the best players in the league. Some of the the most potent attackers in the league. Cristiano Ronaldo being one of the most, if not the most, sort of potent attacker in the history of football, and he's done it with ease every week. Every week he's done it with ease. He hasn't looked troubled. He's looked confident. Defensively, he is very, very, very unique. Vitaly Mykolenko, he is a very, very, very good defender, and I think that sometimes can be lost a little bit in his performances, is just how good of a defender he is, just how aware he is, just how much he understands, dropping off and when to go and when to not go, when to commit yourself and when to not commit yourself, when to, step up and make that challenge and when not to do that. He's got all of that at the moment, and he's still only, 20 years old, 22 years old, and, he's obviously still got a lot of learning to do. He's obviously still got a lot of settling in to do. He's obviously still got a lot of work to do, but considering where he was, even a month or so ago, he's come on absolute leaps and bounds under Frank Lampard, and his performances recently have been phenomenal. And as I said, he absolutely deserves that goal. Absolutely deserves it, because he's been faultless over the last 4 to 5 weeks. He's been, a contender for man of the match in every one of our last however many games. Even the derby in which we lost, he was brilliant in that game as well. So yeah, it's as I said, it's a wonderful goal. He takes it down. Sorry, the ball gets chipped in by Iwobi. He hits it first time on the volley, and has anybody stopped watching it? Let's be honest. Has anybody stopped watching it? Because I haven't. I've just before streaming, I've literally just put my phone down after watching the From All Angles video on Everton's YouTube, and I'll be picking my phone back up and continuing to watch the From All Angles video on YouTube when the stream's over. It's just that good of a goal. I don't think I'll stop watching it for a long time. And the importance of it as well, listen, it's not just an unbelievable strike, it's not just an amazing finish, it's not just unbelievable technique. But it's ultimately the importance of what that means. As I said, we were under the cosh a little bit in the first couple of minutes. Leicester had a chance. They were starting to grow in confidence. You could see even in the opening 2 or 3 minutes, they were thinking, right, okay, we can get it easier. We can bounce back after, what was a disappointing European defeat for them midweek. And all of a sudden, Vitaly Mykolenko had just completely killed that confidence and that momentum straight off with, as I said, one of the best goals we'll see. And have seen all season. It was phenomenal, and he truly deserved it. And from that point, you're sort of thinking, right, okay, we've got a lead now, which is massive. I know there's some people who have that sort of thing of, we've scored too early, or, you don't want to score that early in a game. And there was obviously that feeling of, right, are we just going to sit back now for the rest of the game, or are we going to sort of do what we did against Chelsea, keep attacking, keep getting at them, keep creating chances, keep giving them something to worry about. But in all honesty, I don't think there's ever I don't think there's ever a sort of a bad time to score when you're in the position that Everton are in. I don't think there's ever too early to score. The reality of the situation is, as we won that game 2-1, so Vitaly Mykolenko wouldn't have scored in the opening couple of minutes, we wouldn't have won that game. So when you're in a relegation battle, when you're desperate for points, when you're desperate for goals, there just simply isn't a bad time to score. There simply isn't a bad time to go 1-0 up, and that was a fantastic time to go 1-0 up because we'd had a bit of a rocky start to the game. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It does only take a second if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. That would mean a massive amount to me. We did hit 6,600 subscribers yesterday, as well as 12,000 followers on the old Twitter. So thank you all so much for that. It means a massive amount to me. I didn't put a tweet out or make anything of it because obviously I was more asked about Everton, Everton winning and riding that wave of Everton winning. But it just added the sort of cherry on top of the cake yesterday for the channel and stuff. So thank you all so much for the support, both on here and on our Twitter account as well. If you haven't followed us on Twitter, please do so at MightyBluesYT. But yeah. If you could hit that subscribe button if you're new and you haven't already, and leave a like on the stream, that would be absolutely brilliant. And yeah, from that point on, you're sort of thinking, right, okay, hold out now. We always knew it's the same with most teams. When you go 1-0 up, most teams for the 10 or 15 minutes that follow have this moment of confidence, have this moment of momentum, have this moment of just picking themselves back up and trying to get back into the game. And Leicester City very much had that, and they again were still trying to come forward, but we were hitting them on the counter attack. We were defending relatively well. I feel until obviously the goal happened, and what is really frustrating about the goal is that it comes from a situation in which Everton could have been 2-0 up. And for me, had we have been 2-0 up, it would have been done and dusted for me, because I just don't think Leicester, given that they've got nothing to play for, I think given that the fans are a little bit frustrated at the moment with Brendan Rodgers and the season that they've had, and rightly so. When you look at the table, they've had a drastic season considering where they usually are and what they're usually fighting for. So have Everton, to be fair, but Leicester really have as well. Not as bad as Everton, obviously, but still not great. And I really do believe that if Abdoulaye Doucouré puts that chance away just before Leicester equalise, then it's game, set and match. I really do, because as much as there was a lot of football to be played, as much as there was still a lot of the game to play out, I just don't think they'd have gotten back into the game. I simply don't at that point. And as I said, we break really well. Gray, starts with Doucouré, who pushes himself through the midfield as he's been doing over the last couple of games, that almost back to the Abdoulaye Doucouré of old, the Abdoulaye Doucouré that we all praised so much last season. We're almost seeing that Abdoulaye Doucouré now, which is great, because we haven't seen that for a number of months, and that's down to a number of reasons. He's been out with injuries and stuff like that. But he bursts through the midfield, he gets the ball out to Demarai Gray, runs it into the box, plays it back across the box to Abdoulaye Doucouré, and he almost doesn't get a clean connection with it. And I feel like if he did get a clean connection with it, it would have been in the back of the net and would have been 2-0 up, and it would have just been, as I said, it would have, firstly, the scenes in the stadium would have been absolutely unbelievable. The scenes in my living room would have been absolutely unbelievable. And as I said, I honestly just think it would have been game over by that point. But, strangely enough, he doesn't get a great connection on it. I don't know whether Johnny Evans slides in and gets something on it. I don't know whether Johnny Evans slides in and manages to get a foot on it or block the shot, or even whether it's Johnny Evans who takes the the shot at Kasper Schmeichel. It just didn't seem like a clean connection whatsoever. As I said, I've seen the replay, but I haven't seen a close-up replay to determine, who gets the final contact on it. And Kasper Schmeichel makes a weird sort of save, and I don't really think I've seen anybody else pick up on this, and probably because ultimately he kept the ball out and they went up the other end and scored. But he makes a real weird sort of save where he almost watches it come to him, and then he sort of drops and saves it with his back or something like that. I really don't know how he saves. He doesn't dive. He doesn't put his foot on it. He doesn't. It's almost a weird sort of, oh shit, there's the ball coming towards me there, which is strange for Kasper Schmeichel because usually he's on top of that. But anyway, he saves it. It could have gone anywhere. It could have gone anywhere when he made that initial save. And for most teams in the Premier League, that would have gone into the back of the net. They'd have been 2-0 up and we'd have been cruising. But it doesn't. It bounces off him. It bounces behind him. It's going towards the goal line. It hits the post. And again, it could have bounced off the post and in, but it didn't. It bounced off the post and straight into his arms. And you sort of, it's one of them, innit, where you're scratching your head thinking, how have we not scored? How has that not gone in? How is it not 2-0? But we didn't. The ball goes up the other end of the pitch literally instantly. I don't even think there was 15 seconds between, the ball hitting the post at one end and hitting the back of the net at the other end. The ball goes up the other end of the pitch. First mistake by the defenders, both Yerry Mina and Seamus Coleman. And by the way, I don't blame Yerry Mina for this goal. I do think it was Seamus Coleman who was at fault. But the first mistake from both of whom, and this includes Yerry Mina, was allowing the ball to bounce. I appreciate that. I'm not a Premier League footballer. I appreciate that I'm not an international defender who's played in, World Cups and Copa Americas and stuff like that. But I played centre-half a little bit when I was a kid. And the first thing I was told when I started playing centre-half, and the thing that I was told every week, because I wasn't particularly great, the thing that I was told every week playing centre-half was you never let the ball bounce. Don't let the ball bounce over your head. Don't let it bounce when you're trying to defend it. And that's what ultimately they both did. They allowed it to bounce, and it allowed the Leicester City attackers, I think it is Daka, to put a challenge in. But the actual mistake, I don't know what Seamus Coleman is doing. Why Seamus Coleman is making a challenge is beyond me. And listen, Seamus has been great in recent weeks, very much sort of, he hasn't been at fault for anything really. He's worked hard, he showed that desire, he showed that leadership, he showed that quality, and he showed that determination in recent weeks. So I'm not going to sit here and have a massive go at Seamus Coleman, but again, that's just an example of, I think, him not using his brain. And he's got a brain there because he's been a Premier League footballer for over a decade, and he showed in recent weeks that he's clearly understands what he's doing, understands how to defend, positioning and stuff like that. But that was an example of him not using his brain. That was an example of him not concentrating and ultimately not thinking, actually, do you know what, I'm going to step away from this, because all he needs to do is step away. All he needs to do is go, do you know what, I'm going to take a step back here, whether it be a couple of yards, a couple of steps, whatever it may be, because if he takes a step away, then we don't concede that goal, because Yerry Mina either wins the header and gets it to one of our players, he wins the header and it goes forward towards the midfield, and then either one of the midfielders pick it up, or okay, Leicester might pick it up and come back at us, but then we can find our shape again, or he wins the header and it goes backwards, and then because Seamus Coleman has dropped off 2 or 3 yards, he's there then to get it away. He's there then to, you know, to get it out and to clear the danger. But he doesn't. He tries to jump head to head with Yerry Mina, and that's never, you know, that's never going to work out well because you're either going to give away a foul or you're going to clatter into each other and ultimately cause what effectively happened. That's exactly what they did. They clattered into each other. Daka somehow come away from it untouched. He goes 1-on-1 with Jordan Pickford, and Leicester make it 1-1. And you know, you're sort of just thinking, is you know, it's those moments that in a relegation battle certainly make you sit there and think, oh shit, you know, again, is that the type of mistake that costs us? Is that the type of mistake that is the difference between us winning and not winning this game? And ultimately, is that the type of mistake that, you know, is the difference between staying in the Premier League and not staying in the Premier League? And it's those types of mistakes that make you think, is it really, you know, is everything really against us that much? Consequently, obviously, a couple of minutes later, Yerry Mina ends up going down. Now, I originally thought it was with his head. I originally thought it was through that challenge with Seamus Coleman. But Yerry Mina goes down. He has to be replaced by Michael Keane. And you're sort of thinking, right, this game's being turned on its head a little bit here. We've gone from being 1-0 up and should have been 2-0 up to our defenders clattering into each other, conceding a goal. Leicester again starting to grow a little bit of confidence and a little bit of momentum. They've obviously got all of the possession, which again I had no problem with. And now, you know, our centre half, our leader, our commander, our general in the back line, the player that we all sort of look to drag us through these games, has gone down and had to come off. And as I said, at that point, I thought it was because of, you know, that mistake and that collision, but ultimately it wasn't. It was because of it was because of a calf problem that we found out later on. But Michael Keane comes on. I think a lot of Evertonians at that point were sort of very much like, oh, how are we going to be able to cope now? You know, considering Yerry Mina, you know, had already saved a certain goal earlier on in the game, and of how influential he was last week against Chelsea in that game. But you know what? Michael Keane was absolutely, and I apologise for the profanities because I know there's a couple of people who watch these streams who don't like the swearing, but sometimes some things have just got to be said, and there's no other way of putting them, and there's no clean way of putting them. Well, there is a clean way of putting it, but I'm going to opt to choose the explicit way of putting it. Michael Keane was fucking unbelievable. Absolutely fucking unbelievable. He stepped up yesterday, Michael Keane. He took the game by the bollocks, and he went, you know what? I'm going to come out of this game looking good as well. He didn't let the occasion get to him. He didn't think, shit, I've got to come on and replace Yerry Mina here, who's the leader, who's the general, who's the player that the fans all look towards as the, you know, the top defender. He didn't come on and go, shit, you know, it's 1-1 now and we've already made a defensive mistake, I'm going to panic about that. He almost come on with this air of confidence about him. And that's unbelievable to see, because I don't think he's being unlucky, Michael Keane, because I think when everybody's fit, Yerry Mina has to be in there. I think Mason's done well recently, and Ben Godfrey, when he's fit, has to be in there. So I don't really particularly think it's unlucky on Michael, or unfortunate for Michael Keane. But he was brilliant against Manchester United. They kept Cristiano Ronaldo quiet all game, and then all of a sudden, obviously, you know, when Mina started to return back to the team, he was out of it, and you know, he hasn't had that opportunity since. Michael Keane's performance yesterday was almost the type of performance that makes you think he's saying to Frank Lampard, I'm still here, you know, I can still put a performance in, I can still command, I can still be a defender. Now, listen, whether or not Michael Keane is good enough to be here or not, or whether or not he should be here, or whether or not he should be starting, that's again an argument for when we've stayed up and in the summer when we're preparing for, hopefully, next season's Premier League season. But you have to give Michael Keane credit. You have to give him credit, and you have to give him praise, because he stepped up. And there was a couple of occasions where, you know, he stopped crosses coming into the box, or he stopped, you know, a couple of really, really difficult balls, and he was there. He was what I've labelled Yerry Mina as in previous months and weeks is a ball magnet. You know, somebody who's attracted to the ball, somebody who, whenever the ball is in and around that 6-yard box or in and around that area, he's straight at it. He's attracted to it. He wants to defend it. He wants to get it out. And that's been a big criticism of Michael Keane, I feel. In his entire Everton career, but this season especially, is he's not like that at all. He's not he's almost the opposite. He doesn't want to go near the ball. He doesn't want to be involved in it. He doesn't want to, he doesn't want to get his head onto things, or he doesn't want to be the player that gets rid of the ball, etc., etc. Well, he was that yesterday. He absolutely was that, and there was a moment where I remember thinking there was a moment where a cross come in for Leicester, and it come in, and Michael Keane was sort of behind the ball, and he stepped up and he just got rid of it. He volleyed it out, and I think it went out for a throw in, and the camera zoomed into his face, and you could see the focus in his face. You could see the concentration. Facial expressions, again, I'm not a body language expert. I'm not a facial expression expert or anything like that. But, we all know, it's common knowledge in life that your facial expression can tell a thousand stories. It can tell a story of 1,000 words without you even having to open your mouth. And there has been times where Michael Keane's facial expression has told a story. One of, shit, I'm not really comfortable here. Whereas that facial expression when that camera zoomed in on him yesterday was very much I'm sound here. I'm get rid of that. I'm concentrated. He was looking around. It was almost right. Deal with the next situation now. Worry about the next thing. He was brilliant when he come on, and you've got to give credit where credit's due. Mason Holgate was fantastic yesterday. Obviously, we spoke yesterday about Frank Lampard saying that Mason had been sick. During the pre-game warm up. He hadn't trained for a couple of days. He hadn't travelled with the team. He'd struggled with being eaten. Alex Iwobi put something on Instagram yesterday, a comment saying migraine in quotation marks, whether he suffered with migraines or not, I don't know. But Mason Holgate had gone through all of that and still wanted to play in this game, still wanted to make an impact on this game, still wanted to fight and work for this team. And he did that. And defensively, he was fantastic, and he got the winning goal, which is brilliant as well, which we'll go on to talk about a little bit later on. But defensively, as a unit, considering I can't say we, because I don't speak on behalf of anybody else, but I'm sure everybody would agree that we as a fan base have been very critical of Michael Keane and Mason Holgate as a partnership in the past, and one game doesn't change that. But it's only fair that we sit here and give them both credit where credit's due, and when we play well and when they play well, because as a partnership, considering he was coming in to replace Yerry Mina, who'd already had an impact on the game, Michael Keane was fantastic, and they worked together brilliantly because they both were concentrated, they were both aware, they were both understood what was going on and what the situation was, and they both understood the task. The task was ultimately, and this is going to sound proper Michael Owen here, but the task was ultimately to stop Leicester from scoring, and to absolutely minimalise their opportunities, minimalise their chances to the point where they're having to shoot from 20 odd yards, and that's when Jordan Pickford's making a massive save from Mendy and a massive save from Harvey Barnes. And other than the Harvey Barnes chance that it was from 5 yards out, which again Jordan Pickford makes a save of the season, contender for that one as well. Other than that, didn't really have much. They had the header at the end of the game, but they didn't really have much, and that's because the two defenders worked together and communicated together to stop that from happening. And communication was always going to be a big thing, because ultimately we saw in the first 15 minutes when we went 1-0 up, and when we had the chance to go 2-0 up, a lack of communication and a lack of the defenders talking to each other, being able to sort that out, caused us to concede and caused Leicester to be able to get back into the game. And it was that lack of communication that put us back on the back foot. And as I said, the communication was always going to be absolutely massive when Michael Keane come on to replace Yerry Mina, and it really, really was. And as I said, maybe I'm reading too deep into it. Maybe I'm a little bit, too sort of psychological with it, but you could almost see on Michael Keane's face, I don't know whether anybody else noticed this, but I could almost see it was like, yeah, I'm sound here, I'm going to get rid of everything that comes towards me, I'm confident, I'm going to play with ease. And who knows where that confidence has come from. As I said, his performance against Manchester United was fantastic, but it seems like Michael Keane, Alex Iwobi, Mason Holgate, Jordan Pickford, Vitaly Mykolenko, Seamus Coleman, Anthony Gordon, Damari Gray-Charles, these are all players that, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Fabian Delph, these are all players that have been significantly better in the last 4 weeks than they were in the previous 4 weeks, and also significantly better in the last week than what they had been. It works. Getting behind these players, making a noise, bringing the smoke devices to Finch Farm and Goodison and away grounds. It works. It absolutely works. And the players are feeding off of that. But yeah, as I said, at this point it's still 1-1. You're still sort of thinking, right, okay, how do we go about getting back in the lead in this game? Because ultimately, listen, a point would have been suffice, in my opinion, yesterday. A point, if we'd have come away with just a point, I don't think any of us would have been overly, upset. And look, obviously it's situational, so if we'd have conceded in the last second of the game, yes, we'd have all been absolutely fucking fuming. But before the game, before the ball had been kicked, Lionel Messi says, wouldn't you want to be relegated as it's maybe good for your club? Absolutely not, mate. Absolutely not. Bit ridiculous, but there you go. Fair enough for your question. But yeah, it was, again, as I said, the mentality of the players really, really showed when we conceded. Because it, beforehand in away games when we've conceded, i.e., when Burnley made it 2-2 a few weeks back, it's been very much drop heads, we're not going to win this game now, or we're going to lose it, or they're going to gain confidence, or this, that and the other. But it wasn't like that. It really, really, really wasn't like that. Yesterday afternoon, it was almost like, no, we are going to win this game. And I spoke about that after Chelsea, about our half-time. This Everton team come out in the second half. Not only did we score instantly after, when the second half started last weekend, but the Everton team almost had an air of, no, we're winning this game. We're not drawing it. We're not losing it. We're winning it. And it was the same against Leicester. It was almost an air of, not we're settling for a point, not we're just going to defend, or we're shitting ourselves, or we're worried. It was no, we're going to go and get back in front. We've just conceded the stupid goal. We're going to go and get back in front. We go up the other end. We forced them into a corner. Ball comes in. Brilliant header by Richarlison, by the way. I don't think it's being talked about enough. Fantastic header by Richarlison to get up, get it on target. Schmeichel parries it away, and who's there to tap in the rebound? Mason Holgate. Proactive by Mason, reactive by Mason as well at the same time. He knew where he needed to be. And he ultimately knew that there was a chance that the goalkeeper would parry the original header. And he does. He parries it straight into his path. Mason heads it into the back of the net. And as I said, deserves wonderful amounts of credit for, not only his willingness and determination and desire to start that game and to, ultimately to play after not being very well over a couple of days, but also for getting in that right area and heading that ball into the back of the net, which again put us back in control, put us back in front, put us back in the driver's seat. And from that point on, you're sort of thinking, right, what is going to be the tactic here? Are we going to see like Chelsea, where, as I said before, we still keep getting at them, we still keep trying to counter-attack them, we still keep going for more? I think had we have got a third, it would have been much more comfortable, obviously. Or is it going to be a sit back and defend, and just put, everybody behind the ball? And that was always going to be difficult as well, because, ultimately we scored the second on the 30th minute, something like that, 33rd minute. So it was always going to be difficult to 30th bang on the 30th minute. So we had 60 minutes there, an hour to, albeit with a break in between, but an hour to defend that lead. So that was always going to be a difficult task when you're being put under pressure for an hour. But we didn't. We calmed ourselves down. We continued to go. Yes, Leicester had opportunities. Yes, Leicester were moving the ball in the midfield. Yes, they had more possession. Yes, they had looked more in control of the game. But I think for the rest of that first half, we were never really bothered, to be honest with you. We were never really bothered. We were getting up the other end. Anthony Gordon had a chance, which I think it was in the second half, actually, which again was forced into a block. We were still looking a threat on the counter. The more the game went on, the less of a threat we looked, don't get me wrong, but we were still looking a relative threat. And we get to half-time, 2-1 up, and you sort of just, again, I remember sitting there and just sort of thinking, this is the biggest 45 minutes possibly of this season. And I know we've said that a lot recently, and you tend to do say that a lot when you're in a relegation battle, and every game is a cup final. But it did feel yesterday at half time that this is the biggest 45 minutes of the season. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And it was that at that point that Frank Lampard and his team talk had to be spot on. Leicester were always going to come out and fight. They were always going to come out and try and get back into the game. Ultimately, they've just gone out of a European Cup. They are safe, so they're not going to get relegated, but they still wanted to go out and get a result that would have at least given their fans something to cheer about. I don't believe for 1 minute that this Leicester team were happy to lose that game. I've seen a couple of mad conspiracists. People have a go at me for being a conspiracist, but I've seen a couple of Reds and fans of Burnley and Leeds on Twitter saying, wow, the Premier League have paid Leicester to give in there today. They didn't, did they? Because Leicester come out and looked like they wanted to get back into the game, as you would expect. One thing I thought was noticeable at half-time was the Leicester fans booing off their own team, to be honest, which I thought was interesting and such a contrast from the Evertonians, who were non-stop screaming, singing and shouting for, as I said, for the entirety of the game, but specifically that last 10-15 minutes of the first half. All as you could hear in that stadium was Evertonians. All as you could hear was the blue section, singing Spirit of the Blues and singing, Goodison Gang and all of that sort of stuff. That's all you could hear. It's so refreshing, isn't it, to have the team you're playing against, their fans boo them off while you as fans are screaming and shouting and cheering and chanting for your team. That's what football is, isn't it, ultimately? And I remember saying, Frank Lampard has got to get these players to channel that sort of frustration and upset from the Leicester fans and channel that positivity and that singing and screaming and the atmosphere from the Evertonians and channel that into the second half performance. And we come out for the second half and as I said, we were controlled, we were comfortable, we didn't really look threatened. Again, as I said, the defence, for other than one or two couple of scary moments in which obviously Jordan Pickford pulled through in, the defence looked comfortable, they looked solid, they looked secure, and we saw the game out confidently. Now obviously, as I said, the longer the game went on, obviously Vitaly Mykolenko had to come off through a bit of cramp, and John Joe Kenny come on and played at left back, which was a little bit of a heart in your mouth moment for me anyway, personally, because Vitaly Mykolenko has been unbelievable recently and was unbelievable yesterday, and John Joe Kenny just A, isn't a left back, and B, isn't at that level of Vitaly Mykolenko. So that was a bit of a heart in your mouth. Obviously Solomon Rondon ended up coming on as well, which again was a decision that the manager made. Why he didn't decide to bring Dominic Calvert-Lewin on, I don't care, because he brought Rondon on and that slowed the game down, and ultimately we won the game in the end. But as I said, I don't think we sat back for the entirety of the second half. I don't think it was as simple as Everton just sat behind the ball for 45 minutes. I think we sat behind the ball for 25 minutes, half an hour, and it was a very, very, very difficult half an hour, 25 minutes to watch, that's for sure. But we didn't do it for the entirety of the second half. I think what's important in football is when you're winning a game at half time and you come up against a team that are coming out in the second half to get back into the game and to try and rectify themselves. It's always that 10 or 15 minutes that the first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half that is the most telling. That's the 10 or 15 minutes that is fresh in the players' minds, in the players' bodies. They're fresh off the team talk. That's the 10 or 15 minutes where they're going to throw everything at it to try and get back in the game. Also, it means that if they do throw everything at it and they get back in the game, they've then got longer to go and get a winner or to go and get another goal or whatever. So it was always about shoring up for that 10 or 15 minutes after half time, during the second half, and not allowing them to get back into it, and then frustrating them. And once we'd done that, they got more and more frustrated, and whilst they were getting forward and trying to create and trying to press, when we were defending it and we were sort of hitting them on the counter, and we didn't have many chances in the in the second half, as I said. Anthony Gordon has one which he probably should do a bit better. Damari Gray has one which he should do a bit better. But Leicester were getting more and more frustrated at the fact that they couldn't break us down and the fact that they couldn't get through. They made a couple of changes. They obviously they brought Jamie Vardy on, I believe. I can't remember who else they brought. They brought Ademola Lookman on as well. So they made ultimately a couple of changes to try and win the games, to try and get back into it, and players that typically, this Everton defence might have looked at, certainly Jamie Vardy, and gone, oh shit, how are we how are we going to deal with this? He's again, he's a threat, he's a goal scorer, but it just didn't look to harm us. Harvey Barnes, who come on and did cause a threat. I think it's fair to say he did cause a threat because he forced Jordan Pickford into making 2 world-class saves, but again, he didn't do enough for Leicester. And as I said, the more and more, I thought tactically it was perfect by Frank Lampard. I thought tactically it was absolutely perfect because it wasn't a sit back for 45 minutes, because I think had we have done that, it would have been quite evident 5 or 10 minutes into the second half if that was the tactic. If the tactic was to sit back for the entirety of the second half, it would have been quite evident quite early on that that's what we were doing. And this Leicester team and Brendan Rodgers would have clocked on probably before the 50th minute that, right, okay, these are sitting back here, so throw everything at them. Whereas we didn't sit back until the final 20 odd minutes of the game, when they were more frustrated and when they were more tired. So in those first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, those Leicester players would have been thinking, these are still dangerous on the counter-attack here. These can still go up the other end and do what they done in the first half. And obviously Matt Hatter James has donated £5 to the live stream. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate that, James. He says, you are turning into one of my favourite Everton streamers. Never changed, brother. Thank you very much, brother. I really, really do appreciate that, my mate. It means a lot. But yeah, as I said, they brought on a couple of substitutes, Barnes, Vardy, and in an effort to try and get back into the game. Harvey Barnes, I think, is a really, really talented footballer. And Jamie Vardy is a clinical goal scorer. He's a renowned goal scorer in this league, and it was a little bit worrying to see them come on. But we dealt with them. And yes, they did have their chances. Mendy has a chance where he cuts inside, and Jordan Pickford makes a save that if it was Adam Ramsdale, it'd still be being shown on Sky Sports now as the most unbelievable save anybody has ever made in the it'd be getting sent into space on a little telly by Sky Sports if it was Adam Ramsdale who made it. But that's a brilliant save. The one from Harvey Barnes, the first one, I think it's the first one from Harvey Barnes. And bearing in mind, these all happened in a period of about 5 minutes. So Jordan Pickford hasn't made one save in the first half and then another world-class save, in the second half. He's made 3 unbelievable saves within the space of about 7 minutes. The first one from Harvey Barnes, which is poor defending and is a lack of concentration and is a lapse in defensive concentration. And had it have gone in, maybe we wouldn't be talking about Mason Holgate and Michael Keane in as good of a light as we are. But it didn't go in, so we give them the benefit of the doubt. And as I said, that first save from Harvey Barnes, considering Harvey Barnes is genuinely a top level footballer, and a clinical striker, a clinical goal scorer, and a really, really talented footballer. He's 5 yards out. He gets a good connection on it. He gets it on target. Jordan Pickford, when the ball is hit, is stood up, and he still manages to get down and make the save. That is another contender for save of the season. I know I said it yesterday, and some people said, oh, you're getting a bit ahead of yourself. The Mendy save, the Barnes second save is a great save, but it's a great save that you would expect Jordan Pickford to make. The Mendy save is better than Adam Ramsdale's, and this isn't a competition. I don't care about Adam Ramsdale, to be honest with you. I don't even mind him. He's a decent goalkeeper. He's just not on the same stratosphere as Jordan. He's a decent goalkeeper, but the Mendy save is as good as the Ramsdale save that everybody was creaming their kecks about earlier on in the season. The Harvey Barnes save, the first Harvey Barnes save, is just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The reaction time, and not only the reaction time, the strength of Jordan Pickford's hands, and the sort of footballing goalkeeping IQ to understand that when he got a hand to it, he had to palm it outwards so that there was no chance of a rebound is brilliant. We literally saw a goalkeeper at the other end of the pitch earlier on in the game in Kasper Schmeichel palm the ball back into the 6-yard box for Mason Holgate to get his head on. Whereas Jordan Pickford not only gets down and gets a strong hand to it, but he ports it outwards so that there's no Leicester player in sight to finish it. If he'd have put it back towards where it come from, Barnes would have hit the rebound, or Vardy would have hit the rebound, and it'd have gone into the roof of the net. But he doesn't. He palms it out for a corner, and you can see Jordan is screaming and shouting, and you know he's directing his defenders as if to say, don't let me have to do that again. But then he's back. He's back in the game. You know, we spoke about this last week about Jordan Pickford making world-class saves, and whereas, you know, he's always been an unbelievable shot stopper, Jordan Pickford, but in previous years, he'd make world-class saves, and then it'd almost be like he'd think about it for 20 minutes, 15 minutes afterwards, or if he made a mistake, he'd think about it for 20, 15 minutes afterwards, and then that would lead to further mistakes, or that would lead, you know, if he made a world-class save, it would lead to him conceding a silly goal, 10 minutes later, because he's still thinking about how great that save was. Now, that's not the case. Now, Jordan Pickford makes a world-class save, and it's like, right, that's gone now, on to the next one. The Mendy one, bang, gone, on to the next one. First Harvey Barnes one, bang, gone, on to the next one. And then Harvey Barnes had the second one, which again is a fantastic save. And he showed again yesterday, Jordan, just why he is an absolutely world-class goalkeeper. And as I said, I understand where people are saying about right now, look a little bit, and how, when goalkeepers made those saves, it's lucky this, that, and the other, but there's nothing lucky about having a world-class goalkeeper in your team. Nothing lucky about having a world-class goalkeeper in your team. And that's what Jordan Pickford is. He's unbelievable, and that's 2 games on the bounce now in which he's effectively won us games of football, and 2 games on the bounce in which he's put in performance of the year performances. It's as simple as that. Again, the 3 saves yesterday were unbelievable. And if he's called into action on Wednesday, I fully believe he'll pull out another 2 or 3, 4, however many that's needed. Unbelievable saves again, because he's just fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic. Matt Hazard James has donated another £5 to the team. Thank you very much, my mate. He says the Ramsdale save was chest height. It just looks good. It was a good save. But the Mendy save is as good, if not better. And that wasn't even his best save of that period of football. Never mind of the season. But yeah, again, Jordan was fantastic yesterday. Absolutely fantastic. And Jordan come up when we needed him to, in the same way as he did against Chelsea. They had a period of time, 10, 15 minutes, where they were really getting at us, really piling the pressure on us, taking chances. And Jordan come up absolutely clutch, made a couple of big saves. And then we started to see the game out. Rondon come on, slow things up a little bit. Everything else that come at us defensively. They had one header towards the end of the game, obviously Barnes from a corner, which went out. But everything else we dealt with defensively. We were clever. I feel like towards the end of the game, we were very, very clever with the ball at our feet, winning, players like Richarlison, Anthony Gordon and stuff, winning fouls in key areas. Richarlison won a really, really important foul right at the end of the game. Can't remember who it was who got the booking for Leicester, but he basically just, Richarlison's got the ball at his feet, he sees the player coming towards him, and he just knocks it past him and lets him hit him, and then, that gives you a minute for, Richarlison to roll around, and there's nothing the referee can say, 'cause it's a clear foul, he gives the yellow card out, and that just killed the game off then completely, and there was 2 or 3 of them, in the last 5 minutes of the game where, be it Richarlison, Anthony Gordon, whoever else, won really, really, really critical fouls in good areas and just slowed the game right down. And you can call it, where's the gamesmanship? Where's the sportsmanship? That's one thing I heard on the comments yesterday. Yeah, but where's the sportsmanship? Get a fuck, mate. Get a fuck. I'm not asked about sportsmanship, not asked about gamesmanship. It's about slowing the game down and doing what you can to win the game. Real Madrid done it in extra time, and everybody was talking about how unbelievable they were for slowing the game down and for stopping Manchester City from getting back into it. But when Everton do it, it's poor sportsmanship, it's poor gamesmanship. Do me a favour and get a fuck. It was brilliant by Richarlison, by Anthony Gordon, by every one of those Everton players that just saw the opportunity. Jordan Pickford towards the end of the game kept hold of the ball for longer than he was doing before, and it is wasting time, but we're in a relegation battle, so we can waste as much time as we want and as we need to. And then obviously the referee blows the final whistle, as I said, just as the Evertonians are singing Spirit of the Blues, and we've won our first away game since August, which just feels mad to say, mad to say, but also so relieving to say. And as I said, it has come at the absolute perfect time. Absolute perfect time. Richarlison was excellent. His press, his desire, his commitment, as was Anthony Gordon. You know, technically, the three up front didn't have a great game in terms of creativeness and opportunities, but their work rate and the desire was unbelievable. Fabian Delph was brilliant in the same sense. The core worked hard. The entire back line, I thought, was fabulous. Other than Seamus Coleman's mistake, Jordan Pickford was Jordan Pickford. Really, he's absolutely unbelievable, isn't he? He's as I said, he's one of a kind. He really is one of a kind. And yeah, the manager got it spot on. The fans were unbelievable, and that's got to continue now. We've got a big game on Wednesday against Watford. It's got to be, the atmosphere's got to be at the minimum the same as what it was yesterday, if not much better. Because it was amazing yesterday, and it can't get much better than that, but we've got to make it better than that. But at the minimum, it's got to be what it was yesterday. The performance has got to be at the minimum what it was yesterday. And I think if it is, we'll beat Watford. And yeah, it's not over. We've won the last 2 games, big games we needed to win. We've got, another 3-4 to go, but especially the next 3, in which for me we've got to win as well. And then hopefully that'll see us okay before the last game of the season. But yeah, there you go. Look, we are going to finish it there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please hit the like button. Jack the lad says England's number 1. England's number 1. Yes, up the F and Sophie, says Jack. Mad after James says Watford won't be as pressing as Leicester. How do we handle it? Well, that's up to the manager, isn't it? And ultimately the staff. I think Watford actually will come out with a little bit of confidence and a little bit of something about them, and that might work in the favour of Everton. Jack the lad says, hopefully not. Richie's press is vital. How Lampard wants to play. He's smart with his press. Yes. Richarlison says Marcelo is right. Vardy coming on was a boss music moment for me. Says Wonderlust. Marcelo says, hail Richarlison, a.k.a. Pigeon, is very good. Do you think he will leave? I don't know. I don't even want to entertain the thought at the moment. He's magic, Vitaly Mikalenko, says Jack. Charles says, hello, Cam. Before Lampard came in, I was thinking I'd ship about 7 or 8 players out, but he's brought the fight back. Now I'm looking around and seeing useful players. Goes to show what bad management does. Yeah, spot on. Happy for Mikalenko's first goal and what a goal, says Richo. Yes. Best fans in the world for sure, says Jack. Barty, I like you. He says super frank. I like your second comment, but I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm not going to say it. Richard says, evening Cam, fantastic sport of the King Power. We are staying up. I hope so, mate. I really do hope so. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Massive thank you to everybody watching live. Really do appreciate it. If you're watching this YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below. We will be back with the game preview tomorrow to Everton's Premier League game against Watford, so don't forget to join us for that one. But until then, big thanks for watching. Get in, up the toffees. Big game on Wednesday now. Gotta go and do it all again. Big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. And we'll see you after.